Good morning, everybody. Good morning, love streamers. So today, Bill, Lisa, and Linda, and Al, and Kimberly Cartwright, and they're all in Stony Point, New York. But don't fear, the other A team is here. They left you in really good hands. So anyway, we send love to Stony Point, New York, love and light. Okay, everybody. Irene wants you to use blank paper. Did I said that unlined paper, right? I said unlined, but it's blank.
No, unlined is fine.
Unlined, blank. Potato. Okay, so we're back. And I hope I do a good job with Irene because I can't even tell you how phenomenal this woman is. And we did get to do the Camino with her too. So she brought all her love and light with us on the Camino. And I just love doing anything with Irene. If she's doing something in her home, if you get a chance, you go. If she says, come over, you go. And you just want to be with her. And so she's a therapist, and if I had somebody that needed a therapist, I definitely say go to Irene. And she's an author, and her first book, Not Like My Mother, was just phenomenal. I read all her books, and the next one, I'll Take God, Hold the Religion, and I think she'll be speaking of them, and so she can toot her own horn on those in a minute. But she's a brilliant teacher of God, bringer of light, and I want you all to welcome Irene Tomkinson. Oh, we got to bring them on.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a kind of a mixed blessing to be asked to do this. I have a little bit of a wondering because every time Bill asks me to do this, he and Lisa leave town. So I think it's something I say, something you think I'm going to say. But it is an honor. And it's an honor because, I love people on this journey. I love the hearts. I love the willingness. I love the humor. I love the intelligence. I love what I learn, what everybody brings to this. So when someone asks you to be the teacher, it's like, oh my God, can I be good enough? That's something we're always asking ourselves, right? Can I be right enough? Am I enough? Am I too much? Ever had those thoughts? Yeah. Sandy, we have a clipboard back, party favors today. So my talk today is about shame and guilt. I'll read you something out of the course to get us started, okay? I'm reading it from page 214, chapter 5, in the, what is this new one called? The CE edition?
Yes.
Okay. The ego's use of guilt. I'm not going to read that much of it. You can go back here. Perhaps this will become clearer and more personally meaningful if the ego's use of guilt is clarified. The ego has a purpose, just as the Holy Spirit has. The ego's purpose is fear, because only the fearful can be egotistic. The ego's logic is as impeccable as that of the Holy Spirit, because your mind has all the means at its disposal to side with heaven or earth. Heaven is Holy Spirit, earth is the ego. As it elects, you have the choice. But let us again remember that both are in you. They're not you, but they're in you. Guilt is always disruptive. I'm skipping a paragraph. Anything that engenders fear is divisive because it obeys the law of division. If the ego is the symbol of the separation, it is also the symbol of guilt. Bottom line, if you're feeling guilty, you're coming from your ego. There's test number 1. The ego is the part of the mind which believes in division. Whenever you respond to your ego, you will experience guilt and you will fear punishment. The ego is quite literally a fearful thought. Okay, so why was I interested in bringing this up? My passion in life, well, let me tell you a little bit about my beginning. My first degree is in early childhood education. I was that kid in the neighborhood that loved the little guys, and people used to use me all the time for a babysitter, and I loved it. I just always loved little ones from the very get-go. And I thought what I was going to be doing with my life was maybe having a couple of daycare centers. You know, I thought that's where I was going to end up. Through a whole series of events, one of them being that I got into recovery for alcoholism and started down a path that, and my husband did also, started us down a path where he changed his career to counselor from being an ordained minister and having a church, and asked me to join him to help him with workshops and stuff he was running, because I had been an executive director of a youth agency and stuff, and I knew a lot about developing program. So I would help him on these weekends, and then people would ask if I would see them individually. And I thought, I'm a teacher, I'm not a therapist, you know, but they wanted to see me. So that started to grow. People just started talking to me, and I started listening. And then, so I had this full-time job, and then I was seeing people nights and weekends, and sense of like, it's not logical, it's not right, but it's yours to do. That was 35 years ago, and it's been mine to do. And somehow we've kept the lights on. So anyway, and from that I went to grad school, and what I found out was that the reason I have been a very successful therapist, and I'm going to say that I'm 72, I recognize it, you know, is because I had the early childhood education. Because most of the places that we are hung up is in our childhood. And I get it. You know, like we pray to see the Christ in each other. We pray to see the light in each other. What I can absolutely see is the little ones in each of us. And I can definitely see the wounded. That wounded part of us, that's what comes up in all our relationships. You know, when we're having a hard time in a relationship, it's little ones that are there. There's no adults on board. Shame and guilt are absolutely grounded in some old wounded places. Hi, Monica, welcome. Take a clipboard. In my new book, I'll Take God, Hold a Religion, it's basically my memoir of my spiritual journey. And I put some steps in here. Well, they're not exactly steps, because I really didn't want to tell people what to do, but I offered what I wanted were suggestions. And talking to a friend, telling him what I wanted to put in the book were some suggestions or some way to tell people they're on the right path. And I was looking for a word for it, and he's the one that gave me the word cairns. You know, those piles of rocks that you find on the path when you're taking a hike, right? They don't tell you that the way to go. They just tell you you're on the path. And they've been put there by people who've been on the path before you. and you can add one to it for the people coming behind you. The freedom is yours. It's just telling you you're on the path. So the five Karens that I talk about in the book are, and not one is more important than the other. One is to learn to trust your intuition and your knowing. That's listening to that voice inside of you. The other is to develop an ability to achieve stillness. If it's 60 seconds, to have some tolerance for stillness. The third is accepting that life is temporary. Everything here is temporary because everything here is the illusion. That's the word we would use, right? It's not real. It's not eternal. It's all temporary. What is real, what is permanent, is what is inside of us, and that is the love that has created us. The fourth is to do something daily that enlivens you. Not something that you achieve something from, but something that makes you feel alive. Not going to the gym because you're supposed to, just doing something that makes you feel alive because you want to. It makes you giggle, it makes you laugh, it makes you breathe deeper. And it's not something you do every day. And have a noticing when you're not doing that, when you're not doing something that enlivens you. And the fifth is the one I want to talk about today. Learning to recognize your beliefs. I'm going to read from the book a little bit. Where did your beliefs about yourself and the world originate? Rules and traditions internalize, become unconscious beliefs that push you around in your life with or without your permission. We must ask ourselves, do these concepts still work for me? Do they resonate as truth for me? Are they shoulds? Shoulds are someone else's values. So, does that make sense?
Perfect.
Yes. And most of the beliefs that we hold on to come from a very, very young age. We got told by somebody in authority, or it's the way we came up to explain the world. One of the ways I explain the world, my father left when I was 3 and I never ever saw him again. I never met anyone in his family. I have no clue about anything on that side. So I was a smart little girl. I knew I was smart because when they signed me up for kindergarten, they gave me a test and they put me in the first grade instead of putting me in kindergarten. So school wasn't scary for me. Everybody told me I was smart. So I believed them, right? But my dad left. And something must be wrong with me, right? Because if you're valuable, the adults stay that are important to you. The 3 things every kid needs are time, attention, and direction. If you don't get that, then what you walk away with is a feeling that you're not valuable. That's the beginning of life on planet Earth. All those things that say we have no value or not enough value, right? So my belief was I was not a pretty girl. Because if I was really pretty, he would have stayed. He would have had my picture on his desk. I would have known what it was like to have somebody put me up on their shoulders. All the things that dads do. I didn't get that. And then I got some stepfathers that told me just the opposite about what a drag I was. So my belief about the world was if I was a pretty girl, this wouldn't be happening. So I spent a lot of time being a comic instead, being an achiever instead, working on the stuff that I knew I had, but always performing. Because somewhere deep inside, there was a feeling I'm not valuable, right? And I will guarantee you that each one of you has a story like that. You have something that told you you weren't valuable. Shame says, no, I'm sorry. Guilt says I did something wrong. Guilt is about behavior. Did something wrong. Shame says, I am something wrong. Now I'm going to speak in generalizations, okay? Women grew up with the idea that, and let me quote here from a famous from a famous TV commercial. Okay. I bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, and when I get home, I don't let you forget you're a man, right? There's about 1 million versions of that, and what that says is, as a woman, I need to be perfect. I need to make money, I need to make a home, and I need to be sexy. I need to be it all. So women walk away with, I'm not enough. I'm not enough, right? Men better be strong. You better be tough. And don't ever let anybody see you show your underbelly. Don't let anybody see you weak. You better defend your women. You better defend your children. You better protect your country. You need to learn how to shoot a gun. You need to learn how to go to war. Men grow up with, I can never be afraid. Does this make sense? Everybody grows up denying vulnerability. Guess where Holy Spirit resides? In vulnerability, right? But we grow up with these undercurrents of, I'm not enough. Or then the little bit of the opposite of that, if a female has more masculine traits like I do, I'm too much. I'm just too much. Too loud, too smart. Play down. Don't let men think that you're smart. They don't like that. Men, I can't let anybody see my soft side. A soft man is a... Mm-hmm. A soft woman is... Perfect. Yeah, we don't have a word for that immediately, right? It's like in our vocabulary, right? It's so ingrained in us in this illusion. And we can all say, well, I'm not going to choose those thoughts. I'm not going to choose those thoughts. Do not choose that thought that you're not enough. Hello. It's hardwired into whatever this is up here, right? So I'm going to start with a little bit of a journaling exercise for you and for you at home. I want you, because here's one of the key words to know that you're digging into those old beliefs. I want you to make a list of at least 10 I shoulds, and I want you to rewrite the word I should. I should, and then fill in the blank. Whatever, I should write neater than this. I should, whatever is the first thoughts that come to mind. I should. Let yourself breathe in deep and keep the pen moving. You don't have to share this with anybody. It's just for you to hear. I should. You can do it at home too. And I understand that you can say to me, well, I'm thinking about it. Just write it. Because writing gets it out of your head. This is where ego wants to be. Ego will run the same 15 thoughts over and over and over again. They're doing a good job writing. Are you writing at home? Come on, you can do it. Find the paper. I'll give you a break. You only have to write 5 at home. They have to do 10. No, just kidding. And the reason I encourage people to write on unlined paper is because it gets you out of your head. The lines keep you in your head. The blank paper gets you out of your head. It's just, it brings more out of you. Let yourselves breathe. Notice the energy of the shoulds. Should is a very different feeling than want to. Good job. So now I want you to draw a line underneath your list. I want you to pick one of those shoulds that really irritates you or bugs you or makes you feel less than, or, you know, the one that annoys you. Do you feel guilty about that one? Does it make you feel guilty? Okay. Guilt says you broke a rule. Remember this. Every time you feel guilty, you're working out of your ego, and guilt says you broke a rule. So I want you to look at that one, and I want you to ask yourself, what rule do I break with this one? What rule do I break with this? With that should that you picked out. This has been like a big growth thing for me, this whole looking at the shoulds and the guilt thing. So what rule do I think I broke? Okay, I'm going to put this here, all right? Is that all right for the camera? Or not? So when I started watching aging happen to myself, so I'm 72, and I do not look like I used to look when I was younger, thinking I wasn't looking good enough. I'd take it back now in a heartbeat. But so, and I'm not as strong as I used to be. And I realized that we learned that we're not a body, but come on, we're in the illusion. This is the thing we're walking around with. Deepak Chopra says, if we look at the body, we can see where the mind has been. The body is like a printout of where the mind has been. What I realized around the aging process is I have felt shame about it. I have felt shame that I've aged. I have felt shame that my skin is wrinkled. I have felt shame that it's harder to take off weight. I have felt shame that I don't have the strength I used to have. I have felt shame that I can't think as quickly as I used to think, or grasp the words, or remember stuff like I used to. The should says I should have been at the gym more. I should have eaten less. I should have stayed out of the sun more. I should have. Like there's guilt about the rule I broke was I wasn't perfect. Because if I was perfect, I wouldn't have wings.
But you're an angel.
Yeah.
You're an angel.
I am. If I was perfect. Takes a while to grow those wings. I'm not perfect. And I am perfect, right? Because I am not this body. But I am walking around on this planet in this body. Because I don't want the vulnerability of aging and watching this journey on this planet start to come to an end. I don't plan on checking out tomorrow, but I know I don't have as much time. You know, when I look at the next big birthday, it's 80. I don't care whether you think 60 is the new 50. 80 is the new old. It's the old, it's the new old. There is no getting around it. 80 is old. Get over it, right? But we don't want the vulnerability. We're terrified of the vulnerability. And I watch myself, David and I have been together 48 years, and I watch myself bitch at him and be angry at him and have to really look at it's because he scares me. I can see the aging on him. And I know that this temporary is temporary. One of us is going to be leaving. We're not going to be here forever. And it's in our face. And somehow shame is connected to the idea we should be controlling this. We should be certain about this. We should be able to ground this somehow in some kind of control. And we're in the illusion. In the illusion. We have all the stuff we fight with. So if you want to own your beliefs, which we need to own, we have to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable. You sit with that should list and ask yourself, who wrote that rule? Who wrote the rule that it's not okay to be 72 with wings? Who wrote the rule? I know somebody on Flippin' TV did. I think Jane Fonda had something to do with it. Right?
Just blame it all on Jane.
Blame it on Jane. But I have been buying into it. I have a choice. I have a choice to remember that I am vulnerable in this illusion. Vulnerable is showing us about change, about what we don't control. But the ego says, have shame about it. Because shame and guilt will give me some kind of an illusion that I'm going to correct this, that I'm going to change this. I'll just start running up some flippin' hill, Maybe I'll get some plastic surgery. Maybe I'll just have all my photographs taken like this, right? That's what my daughter tells me, the photographer. Just be on the stairway and hold your head back. You'll look great.
Tip number 1 for Sean. She taught us all that.
Okay, so have you written your rules? Have you written your rule down? Who wrote it? So look at that. Who wrote that rule? Who wrote that rule you've got on your paper? Society wrote your rule? The nuns wrote the rule?
Oh, no.
Are you willing to share what the rule was? Hand mic?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Let me get you a hand mic. The rule in here is you have to use a mic. There you go.
That's Bonnie's rule.
So, hi, everybody. So the rule I have, the thing I thought I was supposed to be is perfect and have it all together.
Who wrote that?
Anybody else have that?
Oh, yeah.
Who wrote it? Me as a little kid, probably.
Well, you're the one that took it on. But where did you get that rule? Who gave you that info?
I don't know, actually. I think society. Or maybe, I don't think my parents did. Because they had a really messy life with 10 kids running around. But I think...
Did you like their messy life?
No.
Okay. So the little girl might have come up with the rule, like, I'm going to do it so different than that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to not like them.
Different from my elder siblings, my older sisters. Yeah. So, yeah, be perfect, have it all together. The rule is, I broke the rule because I've had a very messy life and 3 marriages and 3 divorces. So that's like the biggest thing that I feel the shame and the guilt about is that my marriages didn't last.
So the rule is by the churches, right? Till death do us part, right? It's the only way out. One of you has to die.
Yeah. Right. And my parents really took that seriously, and they did it. Of course, none of the kids, but a lot of us couldn't do it.
Right.
In our family.
Right. Did you learn anything from those 3 marriages?
Yeah.
Each relationship brought you all kinds of information.
Oh my God, yes.
Each relationship was chapters in your life that taught you so much.
Yeah. But I still felt this need. I still felt the need to make them wrong about it. I learned that this weekend in Landmark. It was like, oh, I thought the guy was supposed to make it all work. And so I made them wrong each time I broke up.
That's a rule.
So
The guy's supposed to make it work, right?
yeah, well, yeah, because I
Well,
was
he's supposed
doing
to take
everything
care of
right.
you.
Yeah,
Because he's supposed to be
I
strong
was doing everything right
and
Yeah,
protect
so
you.
why weren't they,
Right,
on this
right.
path with me? Or yeah, so seeing where I was playing the powerless one, so they would be the powerful one. So I would not have to go out and make lots of money and stuff, and I'd just take care of the kids. And so
Because
all
that's
of it,
the rule.
that was the rule.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
and shocking. I mean, it's shocking to see that was all going on in me, and it had nothing to do with them.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
We've all got the good parent rules too. Or there's the rule, like if you don't have kids, you're supposed to,
Oh, yes.
right? And the good parent rules. A good parent always listens. What, Andy?
No, you don't want him to repeat that.
Okay. A good parent always listens. A good parent's always there. If your kids are having any kind of pain, don't you feel some responsibility? That's not our job. It's not our job. You know what our job is? Our job is to remember their value, to hold the light. Nobody gets off of planet Earth scot-free. It's an illusion, but it's a painful one. And there's lots of joy in it, but there's a whole classroom down here. And we feel that if we haven't protected our kids so they have this perfect life, pain-free, that somehow we did something wrong. It's not up to us. And most of our good parent rules, they came about when we were about 8 years old. That's when we decided how it was supposed to look. And we've been hanging on to them until, of course, we go to Al-Anon or something and we learn to love and let go, right? Disconnect with love kind of thing, right? We are just, if you think of the barnacles, the guilt and the shoulds as barnacles, it's like we're covered with them. There's this mesh inside of us that's full of it. So then we belong spiritually to this community. And we really believe in our deepest knowing that we are children of God, that we are born from the light, because we see our kids or the little ones that we love, they're so beautiful and they're so perfect in the beginning, right? We know they come from the light. We love them and our hearts are so full of love for them. We can't even believe how expanded our hearts feel. That's us. We have that inside too. That's in each and every one of us. But when we put the brakes on, feeling the vulnerability, when we put the brakes on feeling the uncomfortable, as Brene Brown, am I saying that right? Yeah, right. As she says, we are the adults in the United States today are the most numb of any adults we've ever had. We are the most medicated. We are the most obese. We are the most addicted. Did I do that right? I don't know. I can't talk and write at the same time. We're the most medicated. We're the most obese. We're the most addicted. And we're the most in debt. And it's all about numbing. It's all about moving away from the pain. It's all about buying or eating or drinking some should. It's something to get away from the uncomfortableness. And everything that human beings want is connection. At our deepest place, we want connection. We want connection to each other. We want connection to spirit. But we're trying to do it without having connection to self. And the way to have connection to self is you have to sit in some of that uncomfortable stuff. It's the way you get through it. It's the way you move to the realization of who and what your value is. But the ego has us wrapped up in this guilt and shame dance constantly, constantly. And as it says in the book, the ego wants us divided. Divided from ourselves, divided from the light that we are. Does this make sense? So I want you to take a couple of minutes, pick a partner, and share with your partner one of your rules, one of your shoulds. Talk about your shoulds to one of your partners. You all at home do more journaling. Just write a conversation with yourself. Huh? Oh, if they have something they want to share. If you have something you want to share, put it up for Bonnie to look at, and she can read it to us. If you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to ask, because we've got some time. What do you need, hon?
Put something up. Lisa wants to know who's 72. Lisa didn't know. I think they're driving. Right, she's trying to get all. Okay, we know.
That's my
And the rule I break is, my mind has always told me, I've been too much and too loud as a woman, as a girl. And not just that society tells me that, my mother and I watched my mother be a tormented and never say what she felt. The entire life. That was the thing today. She said most likely every one of us has had a parent that, you know, you asked your mother, how are you? She said, or and not having a dad. I became a guy because I never had a role model. So I didn't and she's so excited because you're a woman. My ex said, old
So just a couple of more minutes. Make sure you both have a chance to share. Do you have any comments, Bonnie?
That's what yeah. And that's what society says. That's exactly what society says. I need a guy. Everybody else, I've literally had guys, people come up to me in meetings and go, you're just way too serious. Really? Is this such a thing?
It's okay because it does when someone does that.
It doesn't. But like she said, and I love everyone, but I'm so done. I say, how can you say? I'm not gonna think that. I feel like you're pushing
Okay. Bring your attention back here. Okay. You both got it. You both got a chance to share. Okay. Anybody want to speak to? Oh yeah, sure. You have a question online?
Okay, we do have one question online, and Julie,
Hi, Julie.
what do you do with a partner that is unwilling to connect to himself, and you are working hard to connect with yourself?
Take a very deep breath and realize it's your choice to be in that relationship, and you can only take care of you. So you have to accept him as he is. You have to accept him as he is and look inside of you. You know, you can only connect to you, and you can only connect to that person with love. And if you want him to change, you're not loving him. So, did you want to say something, Art?
Yes.
The microphone's coming your way.
I have the microphone.
Thank you,
The
Andy.
voice from beyond.
I am
Yes, you're on.
responsible for every relationship I have because it's my interpretation.
So you're making a choice to be with this person.
Right. But when I say they're not working on themselves, it's their truth. Doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's their truth. All I need to do is love it. And then, if it's still uncomfortable, I don't have to stay.
If we, absolutely, it's a better way to say it than I said it. If you're
wouldn't say that.
they're both great ways. If you're breathing inside, if you're paying attention to you, you will be guided what's yours to do. And if you're asking to see this person through the eyes of Christ, you'll see what's yours to do. In the eyes of Christ, it may be to love them and say goodbye. It may be to love them and find a whole new peace with them. I know that in our 48 years together, David and I, there have been plenty of times when I thought I made a really poor choice. And he did too. He absolutely did too. And, you know, people say, how did you guys stay married so long? And, you know, the how is easy. Nobody died, nobody left. Okay. That's how we did it. Why did we do it? Why did we do it? Why did we stay together so long? It's because we both saw this as a growth experience for both of us. We both had that willingness. And growth, we believe, is a spiritual process. So, you know, it would get like to the end of the day where it'd be like, you know, the cons were like up here and the pros were like a centimeter above it, you know, but we hung in for another day. We both went through that. And, you know, I told you before, I got into this really bitchy stage of like barking at him because he had open heart surgery. I could really see the aging on him. And I was angry because I kept feeling the temporariness of our relationship. So, you know, so to make him comfortable, I'm screaming at him all the time. Did you take your medicine? Did you take a nap? Did you blah, blah, blah? Did you drinking water? Blah, 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 blah. Because I want to control it. I don't want it to be temporary. until and you keep reading this material and you get it, like, I am responsible for the craziness that I'm going through. And I wouldn't feel good about it. You'd walk away from those kind of interactions. When you're doing this work, when you're reading this, eventually you can't stand your own nasty behavior. You start getting it. It's like when I got sober, you start having to look at you. You can't, and you realize what's underneath this. The anger, shame is anger at the self. Guilt is anger at the self. There's some reasons for guilt. I make an appointment with you, Nancy, and you're waiting for me and I don't show up and I blow you off. I should have guilt about that behavior. But that doesn't say I am bad. It just said I had some bad behavior there that I need to own, right? Shame says I don't have any value. And the reason I'm going to push it away is because I don't want you to find out. I don't want you inside, because if you come inside, vulnerability lets you in. If I let you in and you find out how bad I am, you're going to reject me. And what I really want is connection with you. And the truth is, connection comes from vulnerability. Connection comes from my being authentic with you, from my letting you in and letting you see who I am. That doesn't mean that I blab my story to everybody who comes in my direction. We don't need to unload the world with our story. But what I'm talking about is the honesty about really saying who I am. But first I have to be honest with me, right? And I have to not be afraid to see what's inside here. I have to remember that I am a child of God. Steve, you wanted to say something? Here, Andy will give you the mic. The reason they do that, Steve, is so that it can be on the live stream, on the recording.
I've noticed it for myself, and there's a question in here. My vulnerability, I don't expose because I'm afraid if I let you in, you're going to have a leverage and you're going to hurt me. You're going to turn that back around on me. And I wonder, what do you do in that situation? How do I tend to be a very closed person for that reason. I don't know what to do about it.
Who made that rule? Who
Me.
made that rule that loving was dangerous?
Me,
How old were you?
young.
Was loving more dangerous for you then?
No, but being vulnerable was.
Well,
Sharing with somebody.
sharing with somebody is loving.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We have a choice. We can either come from love or we come from fear.
Mhm.
So there was a little guy in you,
Yeah.
in your past,
Mhm.
who was afraid to share because it was dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
He did not have a driver's license.
Right.
He did not have a checkbook.
No.
He did not have credit cards. He didn't have any power.
Yeah.
The man does have power.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to still keep following that rule?
No.
The man can listen to his intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are some people who are safer on the planet to do things with than others.
Mhm.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But we can discern. But the children have these rules that are like walls. You'll never see my underbelly. Because what's the thing that men are the most afraid of? That you're going to see I might be afraid. You're going to see I don't have all the answers. The scientific method that controls everything we get in academia, in all of our education, is if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. That's the underbelly to everything in our culture. And we're reading a book that says if you can measure it, it's not real. What?
Just the T on can't, you erase that.
If you can measure it, it doesn't exist, right? Hello? Knock over the whole entire structure of the illusion. Right.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Well, you can thank Brene Brown. She's my hero. I would recommend her 2 videos. You probably all have seen them anyway. She's the most watched TED Talk. She has one on vulnerability and one on shame. She's also a social worker. What I love about her is she bothered to do the statistics on everything to prove it, okay? I just have the anecdotes from working with people for 35 years. But she's fabulous. So the way she explains all this, you'll get a lot. And those 2 TED Talks are only like 20 minutes each. And what's really exciting is you can't do TED Talks on spirituality. TED wants science. The TED Talks want science. The TEDx Talks are different, but the TED Talks want science. Well, she's really brought the science to the whole spiritual understanding. So I was like, yes, sister, yes. Okay, you had something?
From our lovely Gwen online. Gwen, why
hi,
aren't you
Gwen.
here?
We miss you.
She said, did anyone else write something they should have done better, like eat better, exercise more, etc., only to instantly see the truth is I should spend more time on my spiritual practice, since I know the truth today and have to be constantly vigilant to not be driven by old false beliefs?
Nice. Thank you, Gwen.
Thanks, Gwen.
We like your participation. You were going to say something, Beck?
No, I was just saying, yeah, the exercise thing and all that stuff.
Is there anyone else who wants to share? Laura? And then I'll get to you, Linda.
It's on.
I had all those things on there about I should be thinner, but the biggest one for me was I should be more lovable and shut my mouth. And I come from the same place you do. I didn't have a dad, and I never had a male role model since I was 10 years old. So I became like a man in a woman's body. So I just purged forward, get out of my way. I'm rising to the top, and I'm giving myself what I need. And the rule I broke is being too much, too loud, too powerful as a girl. And I literally got beat in the face by my mother when I would be too loud. She would say, shut up, no one cares what you think. And then my last marriage ended, and that person said to me, you're too powerful. You're too unlovable. I need someone that isn't like you. And turned around and met someone and married someone else. So it was almost like a punishment of I broke the rule. I should have been quieter. I could have kept a 20-year marriage. The whole stupid lie where marriage in the first place to me is a stupid lie, because if I've done it twice, it shows it's run by man. And so I had to get to that point to forgive myself. And it brought me to more of a spiritual awakening, to the point where now that had to happen to wake me up some more. So when I got sober, today's my 30-year AA anniversary.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I'm pretty goddamn proud of myself, because I have had some times where it was tested. And that was one of those times 9 years ago. And what it did for me is made me see that if that had not happened, had that person not come to me and said, can we go to marriage counseling? And I went, and he said, I don't like you. You're too much. You're too powerful. I heard the whole thing as a little girl all over again. Instead of letting it take me down, which it did for a short time, my guides grabbed me and shook me and said, up you go. And that has constantly happened to me since I've really connected to me, to self. Hearing that person talk about the relationship, I would constantly look outside me at that husband and say, why can't you love me more? Why can't you work more? Why can't you? Monica said it. Why can't you? Why can't you? And inside it was me. Why can't I? And I was spouting this whole thing in AA. I'm spiritual. I hadn't done any work on myself other than a short amount of work. This happening made me completely do a thorough step for, look at my resentments, look at my turnarounds, and be desperately ready to put anything aside, which I do today. And I have healthy boundaries. If you hurt me, I'm going to say to you, please don't do that. And I will step away today. It doesn't mean I don't love someone, especially with my children. And today I shut my mouth with them, not because I'm too much, but because I don't want to try to fix another human being, because that was our whole life. if you'd fix yourself and be the quiet little girl that other little girls are supposed to be, you'd be okay. But then I met the quiet little girls who wish that they could speak up. So nothing's ever right unless I'm right with source. And Abraham tells me that. I have emotions. That's my barometer. How do I feel today? Do I feel satisfied and loving? And do I feel full of love with source? If I don't, my barometer tells me I'm not near source. I've gone to the other side, which is the ego side.
The ego side. Thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else want to share?
It's still on.
It's interesting because I admire you so much, and I do. I put you on a pedestal. Anyway, yeah, and here you have this issue, and then then I get myself out. I want to be like you, and then I have.
So let me tell you something,
Yeah.
Linda. You know, there's a saying, and I think it's pretty true, that when we're angry at someone and we're pointing the finger at them, 3 fingers are pointing back at us. We're seeing something in them we don't like. The same is true when we admire someone. When you're looking at someone and admiring them, you're seeing something in them that's in you. Whatever it is you admire about Laura, you have it inside of you.
So it's just a matter of time.
So ta-da!
Oh yeah, so I go for the now moment, right? So this morning, my daughter is telling me, all right, so I didn't get up. She didn't get on the bus because I overslept. You know, she loved to blame me. So yeah, anyway, the point was she didn't want me to take her to school because I dress funny. And so I said, okay, dress. I'll put on a dress because I didn't, I figured she didn't like these pants, the leggings or something. So then I put on the dress. She's like, I'm not going to school with you. I'm going to go at 9:00. I said, I have to go to Tai Chi at 9. She says, and then I have my dress on. She says, no, you can't wear that. And so I said, well, what can I wear? So I was being vulnerable. I was letting her control me. So she picked out these pants. And so I said, okay, I have a share for that. But I didn't know why she didn't like the dress. Apparently, there was some dirt
How
on
old
there or
is
something. She's 10. And then my wet hair had gotten it wet. And when I took her to school, I realized that she had some spots on her shirt, and she didn't know it. And so I didn't even notice that. So probably, I need to notice her more, or something. Instead, I didn't want to feel judged. So I asked her before I left, how did I do? She doesn't like the way I talk to the people in there. I can't say certain things. And I said, I'm not going to let you destroy me.
You have to just keep remembering you're the adult and she's the child. So take a deep breath, and you know how to dress. You were appropriate. So you have to
I have to get her to school, though.
Yeah, that's okay. And
What,
you have
pull
to
her
have
hair?
No, just have some boundaries. But there sounds like there's some rules you've got going, and you're confused
are you
about
judging
them.
me? Anyway.
That's how it feels, like she's judging you.
Yeah, it's just gotten to this point. So you're saying that's because of the way I handled it. In the
No,
past.
no,
I don't have
no.
boundaries, so I've got this problem.
No, I didn't mean it like that, honey. What I was trying to say was, you're asking me you're asking me like, what should I do? And I'm just saying, just remember, you're the adult, she's the child.
Yeah, it's the way you say it.
How should I say it? Oh, the way you say it to her?
That's what you're saying. I think it's the way, because when I say things, I don't get hurt,
Ah.
That's how, so kind of.
So what do you need to hear from me?
What do I need to hear from you?
Yeah, because you said you felt judged.
By you?
Yeah.
Oh, right. That I didn't do it wrong, but I feel like I do everything wrong.
So what's that rule inside of you? And how old is that one?
I'm not good enough? Or
Yeah. Yeah. But you're not good enough, right? Is that true?
Yes, you just said I don't have boundaries.
That's
So
about a behavior. That's not about your essence. Your essence is always perfect. You are a child of God.
But I have to change. I have to have boundaries.
Boundaries have to do with behavior, not about your beingness, your essence, your heart. The core of your being, your life force is perfect.
Okay.
But we're all here on a sloppy planet, doing behavior well sometimes, doing behavior crappy sometimes.
Okay. So
But
it's
that
not based on.
That has nothing to do
so I
with
can do
our
it
essence.
wrong and still be light. I have to see that. So I don't have boundaries.
We
but
all
I will
have to
change
see
and
that.
I will.
We all have to see that. We all have to see that our behavior is not who we are, it's what we do. Who we are never ever changed from the moment we got here on the planet, because we came in as light, we're going to go out as light. We stay light the whole time we're here.
Someone told us we weren't light.
Or we tell ourselves we're not light. And we all, every one of us, Linda, has messy behavior. We all have lists. We all have messy behavior. I just told you all how I've made my husband miserable because he's growing old. I am not proud of that behavior. But what I know is it's not who I am. It's the fear of hearing the illusion. You're never going to please a 10-year-old every day, all day long.
Yeah, I did. That's why I didn't know I was doing it.
Let me give someone else a chance. Thank you, sweetie. Here, Andy. Is there someone else that wants to share? Yes.
Oh, nice.
I'm scared of this microphone, but it doesn't seem to do anything.
It's doing it. We can hear you.
Okay.
Part of it is that they want it recorded for the
Okay,
computer.
I get it. What you were, couple you were talking about growing up without a father.
Hmm.
So, so we shared about having, my father's very much in my life always, and
Can you hear her?
So I'm just going to talk about the rule, right?
Sure.
I noticed that I worry a lot about money and tell myself I don't make enough and feel guilty about it. And I don't really want to make more money, but I feel like I should. And the should is that I need to completely take care of myself. So I was thinking, where did I get this rule? Why do I feel like I have to completely provide for myself? And it was because I felt like I can't trust other people to take care of me. If I have somebody taking care of me, then that person sort of has power over me, can hurt me. And I got that, I think, from my dad yelling at me when I was very little. And I just couldn't take it. I didn't understand why somebody who loved me would hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made that rule that I should never, ever trust another person to take care of me.
And that disconnects you.
Yeah.
And we're longing, all of us are longing for connection, because that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to connect with self, we're meant to connect with each other, and we're meant to connect with spirit. And all of these rules separate us from that. So we have to make a decision as adults. Do I want this rule? Is it still important for me? I can't tell you what your rules should be. You need to tell you what your rules should be. And they should be flexible, because as our circumstances change, so should our rules change. So I just want to wrap up with some of...
I just have one more.
Yeah, sure.
Just one more from the Love Streamers. Jennifer asked this question a few times. So she wants to know, are there any acceptable should questions? Like, I should trust God more. Or are all shoulds a real question?
All shoulds are toxic. Do you want to trust God more? What does your heart say? Should is something that's coming from outside of you rather than you having the experience of it. Whatever, for me, God is love, and love will wait for you. Love is here. Love's not going anywhere. Love is here, and you'll come into the love that you are when you're ready. And I think we do it in layers. I don't think, for most of us, we don't see burning bushes and it all doesn't, break wide open.
Can't get it wrong and you never get it done.
Right.
Repeat it.
She said you can't get it wrong
And you never get it done.
and you never get it done. So I just want to quickly, and maybe this will help speak to that, but all shoulds are toxic. So Brene Brown, the reason she started studying vulnerability, shame, and guilt was because she was a researcher and she wanted to control it. So she figured if she learned it, she could control it. Okay?
Yeah, there we go.
And when she found out she couldn't, she basically had a breakdown. She was panicked that she had to do vulnerability, and it's all about vulnerability. Then she studied the people who were successful at vulnerability. All of us have shame because that's just the game we play here on The Illusion. What she found out was there's two kinds of people. The ones who could get through it and the ones who couldn't get through the vulnerability. And what these people had that these people didn't have is these people had courage, compassion, and connection to themselves. They had compassion for themselves. They had the courage to stay in the uncomfortable stuff, and they had connection with themselves. And out of this, they could get through the shame. They could dissolve the shame. Does that make sense? These people did not believe they deserved. These people did believe they did deserve. She says that this experience is a wholehearted experience. Isn't that what we study all the time? To be whole and to not be divided. And Jesus, the Christ energy, is that bridge that takes us from that place of our core, of our light. And it's the only language that can get through to the ego. It's the only language that can kind of get through and say, you can see this differently. I believe that we partner with this energy with willingness. The willingness to stay in the uncomfortable, the willingness to look at what belongs to me. Just like you were very willing to look, Linda, at what belonged to you. You wouldn't have brought that question out in the group and talked to us about how uncomfortable your daughter was making you feel about yourself if you didn't want to change it. If you didn't want to own what belongs to you. That takes courage. It takes courage for a cheese to sit in this room. The planet, or here in North America, is built on the scientific method. Logic, right. Logic. Logic is of the ego. The two of us should do a class
I
together.
think you and Nancy should do a class together.
She's our in-house scientist. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope it made sense to you all. Okay, and thanks for listening. I think the time is good, right? So I want to remind you, so we can stand up and we'll make our circle. I'll take my clipboards back.
You can have them back.
If I'm missing something, tell me. Yeah, the basket's back there.
Just drop them up in the pens.
So we're going to make a circle, and don't forget online that you have a donate button where you can contribute to the Teachers of God. It's expensive for them to have this room and to keep the program happening. So if you would help them out, that would be great. And we pass a basket here. We have a box in the back where those of us in the room can put it.
Teachersofgod.org to the donate button.
Teachersofgod.org for the donate button, right.
Time's enough.
So, so we're going to say the unity, tithes, and offering. You guys help me. To my love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So take a deep breath. Thank you so, so much for playing this game with me today, for just being willing to reflect inside of yourselves. You know, there's a little song that I'll do instead of the prayer. I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. You ready? I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. Thank you, guys.
Nice.
Namaste.
Amen.
Awesome.
So proud of you. So good. Oh
He said, "Who's that woman? She's good."